All right, let's jump right into it. Welcome to this explainer. We're going to do something, well, a little bit different today, and honestly, it is completely fascinating. We're taking a matrix-like peek into the hidden data of a single day in the Irish Seanad. We aren't just looking at the politics here, we're looking at the raw, unfiltered data behind those politics.
Which leads us to the exact question we're setting out to answer today. What happens when you feed an entire day of political debate into a data algorithm? Just think about it for a second. Politicians are professional communicators, right? Every single word is a tool. But when you strip away the podiums, you take away the cameras, and you just look at the linguistic strategy, the sentiment, and the structure of what was actually said, an entirely new picture emerges. 28,456. That is the sheer volume of total words spoken on May 12, 2026, during this sitting of Seanad Éireann. To put that into perspective for you, that's essentially a short novel. A novel written and spoken aloud in a single day by a group of people who are actively trying to persuade, debate, and legislate. And we are going to deconstruct this massive scale of linguistic data right now.
Section 1. A data-driven parliament. So, taking a macroscopic view of the sitting, kind of like we're up in the commentator's box looking down at the playing field, we can see the overarching summary of the day. We had 32 distinct speakers delivering 86 speeches, and on average, each speech clocked in at about 330 words. But if we check out the final metric for mean compound sentiment, it sits at 0.461. Now, in data science, sentiment usually ranges from -1 to +1. So despite the fact that they were debating some absolutely heavy and serious topics, which we'll explore in just a moment, the overall linguistic tone of the day remained positively skewed. It's a really fascinating testament to parliamentary decorum.
Section 2. The hottest topics. Shifting from those raw operational metrics to what actually dominated the floor, a clustering algorithm categorized the day's debate, and the data shows a massive portion, representing 24 separate speeches, all clustered around keywords like women, minister, children, violence, and refuge. Emotion on domestic, sexual, and gender-based violence absolutely dominated the legislative oxygen that day. Other clusters, like welcoming guests, discussions on firearms and the rail network, and the National Ambulance Service made up the rest. Our algorithm, it doesn't take sides. It just impartially highlights exactly what the Parliament prioritized on May 12th.
Section 3. Decoding political rhetoric.
Okay, let's put these speeches under the microscope to see exactly how things were said. First, we need to define a quick term, a tricolon. It's a classic rhetorical device that employs a series of 3 parallel words, phrases, or clauses. It's specifically designed to create a really powerful, highly memorable rhythm in the listener's ear. Politicians literally love the rule of 3.
Senator Fiona O'Loughlin put this concept into action perfectly, using this exact phrase: compassion, courage, and resilience. It sounds rhythmic, doesn't it? Well, the data shows that in her 7 speeches that day, Senator O'Loughlin deployed 14 separate tricolons. She used this structural rhythm repeatedly to build emotional resonance with her colleagues. It's a highly, highly effective linguistic strategy.
Section 4. The faces of debate.
Running these transcripts through Flesch-Kincaid readability metrics and neuro-linguistic systems reveals a stark contrast between 2 very different speaking styles. Take Senator Ann Rabbitt, for example. Her Flesch-Kincaid grade level, which measures the complexity of text, is an astronomical 37.4. Her dominant word choice relies heavily on digital or logic-based phrasing. It's dense, it's highly formal, and very structural. On the flip side, consider Senator Eileen Flynn. Her readability grade is a 6.3, meaning it's highly accessible to a general audience. Plus, her dominant linguistic output leans heavily into visual and experiential phrasing. These are 2 completely different ways to command a room.
Just to give you a flavor of Senator Flynn's style, the data highlights this snippet: "I am never going to be the same public rep." It perfectly illustrates her highly direct, deeply emotional, and visually evocative approach to communication. It's literally the exact opposite of a dense, formal brief. It's raw, accessible human connection.
Section 5. The power of words.
So meta-model features are specific sentence structures that algorithms flag to show how speakers subtly frame reality and persuade their listeners. Now, the algorithm pulled out thousands of these, but we're going to focus on 3 fascinating ones that surfaced repeatedly throughout the day: universal quantifiers, modal necessity, and mind reading. These aren't magic tricks, folks. They are highly tactical linguistic choices. First up, the universal quantifier. Listen to this snippet straight from the debate. Once an abuser, always an abuser. Words like always, never, every, and all. When a politician uses these words, they are intentionally framing an argument as an absolute, inescapable truth. The data showed dozens of these quantifiers deployed across the floor to basically shut down any ambiguity.
Next is modal necessity. Here's an example flagged by the algorithm. We must ensure that we have a more victim-centered approach. Pay close attention to words like must, should, or have to. You see, this isn't a suggestion. The speaker is tactically using language to create an immediate, inescapable sense of urgency and obligation right there in the room.
And finally, we have a feature data scientists call mind reading. Check out this example. I know they will not get a barring order. Mind reading in political rhetoric happens when a speaker confidently projects internal thoughts, motivations, or inevitable outcomes onto others without any explicit proof. It's a seriously powerful way to steer the narrative by stating an assumption as a hard fact.
Seeing how all of this builds into emotional delivery, we can actually look at Vader sentiment volatility. Basically, this is how much a speaker's emotional tone swings during their speech. Senator Ann Rabbitt has a massive volatility score of 0.934. I mean, she takes the listener on a huge emotional roller coaster, swinging wildly from positive to negative. Contrast that with Senator Allison Common, whose volatility is a literal 0.000. Her delivery was incredibly steady, serious, and single note. It just goes to show two completely different but deliberate strategies for holding an audience's attention.
So the crucial point here is this. When we strip back the politics and run the text through the algorithm, we see the hidden architecture of persuasion. We see the tricolons, the emotional volatility, and the universal quantifiers. Which leaves us with a final question. How does uncovering the hidden data of debate change the way we listen as citizens? The next time you hear a political speech, you won't just hear the message. You might just see the matrix behind the words. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep your ears open.